Greetings and welcome to the What's Right show. Sam Mirejovsky here, Nevada's favorite recovering Californian, behind the What's Right microphone. And before we get to all of the news that we need to cover today, and believe me, there's a lot going on, so it'll be a busy program, I want to welcome a new affiliate to the What's Right Media Network, KMET in Southern California. Friends, I am happy to have you joining the What's Right family. Now, I call myself Nevada's favorite recovering Californian. Let me just explain this briefly. Once upon a time, I was one of you. I lived in California, grew up in California, lived in Orange County from the time I was 3 years old, left in 2019, just before COVID. Yeah, made that move. Probably most inopportune time, but I had to get out. Just couldn't take it anymore. And I moved to Southern Nevada. I live in Las Vegas. The show is based here in beautiful downtown Las Vegas. So I do talk about Nevada quite a bit, Las Vegas quite a bit. Do cover that. But my background, funny enough, I used to be a talk show host in California. I had a show on KABC. So did that for several years, did evenings, 7 to 9. And some of you may remember the Sam Nation radio program. So if you do, welcome back. You found me. I'm here. I've been here. I've been, in Nevada doing my thing, and handful of affiliates and loving it. So there it is. Those of you who don't know me, just a quick little background on who I am. So first off, my radio story, KABC, but before KABC, really my love of radio came from the many, 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 many hours of my childhood spent listening to Rush. I was a ditto head from the time I was in my maybe preteens, early teens, certainly. I listened to Rush in middle school. I listened to him in high school. I listened to him in college. Any chance I got, I listened to him. It was tough back before he had a podcast. You couldn't really listen, to the program. If you weren't around, during the day. And I distinctly remember in middle school and high school, if I had to stay home because I was sick, it was I knew exactly what I would be doing from 9 to noon, as I'd be listening to Rush. So I grew up, obviously listening to him, and in the pantheon of people who have done what I do here behind the What's Right microphone, there are none that measure up to Rush. He's one of a kind, and I frequently honor him here on the program, and of course refer to him as a mentor because I've learned so much from him. So just got a little bit of my background there, and of course I loved radio even before I became political, because as a kid in Southern California, the news talk station KNX 1070, they had the drama hour every night, 9 to 10, I think is what the time was. Anyway, they had old time radio shows, and I loved listening to them. I just enjoyed them. And I'd listen to them at night, and anyways, old shows, Dragnet, Sergeant Preston and his Wonder Dog Yukon King, Jack Benny, old radio, basically for my grandparents, maybe grandparents' generation. So I've always loved the medium of radio. I love the spoken word, and I enjoy it. And on top of that, I'm just conservative. That's it. Very simple. I'm a patriot. I love this country. My parents immigrated here from Eastern Europe. They came, escaped communism in 1968. They made their way to Western Europe, to the free part of Europe. And to their great dismay, my parents discovered after escaping communism that most of the people that surrounded them in Western Europe thought communism was a great thing. They had been living for years with great plenty. These are people following World War II, where those economies on the right side of the Iron Curtain rebounded. The economies in West Germany, in France, in the Netherlands, even in Italy, came back roaring Meanwhile, everything behind the Iron Curtain rotted away. And my parents finally get out. Imagine this, right? Escape the country that has been their prison their entire lives. Get out, find themselves in Western Europe, look around and go, all these people have incredible lives, but they're all talking about communism and socialism like it's a great thing. Now, by the way, what does that remind you of today? What does that sound like? Because to me, it sounds familiar. Look at a city like New York. Hell, look at a city like Los Angeles. The people there are, some of them, very well off. Beautiful homes, beautiful lives, cars, jewelry, everything. And they vote for socialism. They vote for a system of government that is of complete and total detriment to society, to economy, to safety. They vote for idiots like Gavin Newsom and Mayor Bass. I mean, you would think that these otherwise very successful, obviously must be some bit of intelligence in these voters. Out the window. Somehow the ideology rots their brains. And so my parents, living in the Netherlands, in Holland, in 1977, my mom had an opportunity to legally emigrate with my father to the United States. And my parents came to this country because they believed it was the last place on earth that would remain free. At a time, remember this, right, in the 70s, there was a popular belief that the Soviet Union and communism would spread around the world. And my parents wanted to be in the one place that would be a bulwark against this. And so they came to America, very patriotic, again, did it legally, did it the right way, came here, didn't take any assistance, didn't take help. My mom worked. Eventually, my dad got his work permit so he could work. We had a tough life. My parents made their American dream a reality. And the thing that peeves me, and you'll hear it frequently here on this program, the thing that absolutely gets my goat is when immigrants come to this country illegally, for one, and immediately go on the take. They come here and they say, what are you going to do for me? That's supposed to be the other way around. Well, I'm just giving you a little bit of background on who I am. So parents come here and do well and create a great life for themselves. They still live in California, and we're all very close. But anyway, so I got to tell you, folks, a lot of what you're seeing today, a lot of, for example, this lead up to the election. We've got an election coming up. And you can see the kind of shenanigans that the Democrats are playing. You can see what they're doing. This entire shutdown has been nothing more than a stunt to drive out Democratic voters. They are perfectly fine burning the entire country down for the sake of their political fortune. It's so fundamentally messed up. I almost want to say the other word. But anyway, you know this, I know this, we understand this fundamentally. And we have a country to save. I had an opportunity, it was last night, at an event here in Las Vegas. Ted Cruz was there, a small group of people, a few other people from Congress, in the midst of this mess on the Hill. Obviously not as many participants as we'd hope to have there. But, but every one of them that had spoken to me, where either it was on stage or in a private side conversation, I learned from them that they had spoken to the president, to some extent, had some meetings with Trump in the last, say, 3-4 months. And each and every one of them separately told me that, because I always ask, what's on the president's mind? When he meets you, what's he thinking about? What is he telling you? Because that fascinates me, and I always want to share that with all of you. And this is not confidential. I'm free to share it, so I'll do it. Trump is absolutely obsessed right now of saving the country. That's his singular purpose. He realizes he has very little time to do it. We are almost, January will be a year, if you can believe that. We are 1 year essentially from the election victory. And Trump recognizes that there is a lot to do. Trump recognizes that there's a country that needs saving. And imagine this, you're Trump, right? And all of us on the outside are demanding that you do it all now. They're demanding that every one of these, for example, malicious actors that have done so much to destroy our country are locked up, are prosecuted, right? Are investigated. Kind of doing that backwards, but you get the drift. And we're all demanding it. And when's Pam Bondi going to do anything? And I'm going to tell you this too. What I learned last night, and I learned it, a week ago when I was in D.C. What I've learned is you look at Kash Patel, you look at Pam Bondi, every time they look under a rock, looking for this thing, they'll call it thing X, right? They look under that rock, they might find thing X or not, but they're going to find 5 other things that are just as bad, if not worse. So the pursuit of every lead results in 5 to 6 more leads of more malfeasance, of more criminal activity. The prolificness of this Biden administration, whatever the hell it actually was, and what they were able to accomplish criminally boggles the mind. So I'll tell you right now, the president is obsessed with fixing the country. He is obsessed with restoring the America that my parents and maybe you or your parents or your grandparents chose to come to, that your family lives in and loves. This country, we are on the path to saving it. And for the first time in many, many, many years, we have a man in that office that is intent on doing just that. Sam Mirejovsky here on the What's Right Media Network, back in just a few moments.
I'm the best.
Personal injury law has been the same for a long time.
The best.
Big egos, greed, and sleazy schemes. We've had enough. Welcome to Sam and Ash, the new standard for personal injury law, where things are done the right way, because you deserve a team that delivers real support and results. When you have both, your whole world can change. Sam and Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right.
Now, my question is, honestly, folks, who is advising the Democrats on their messaging strategy? Who's giving these people advice? This is horrendous across the board. Welcome back. Sam Mirejovsky here, host of the What's Right show, powered by Sam and Ash Injury Law. In a crash, call Sam and Ash, not a typical billboard law firm. I know particularly since today we have our friends over at KMET in Southern California joining the What's Right Media Network. Welcome, friends. Good to have you with us. I'll mention that. Know you guys have in Southern California as many billboard lawyers as we do here in Las Vegas and elsewhere across America, maybe a few more, honestly. So you get the ick, right? You get the ick, right? You look at the billboard, you look at the guy, look at the girl, whatever the hell is going on. You go, that I could never take that person home to my parents. Mom, Dad, here's our lawyer. You wouldn't have let that person into your house. No way in hell. You want the kind of lawyers that you take home to mom. Sam and Ash Injury Law. 1-800-304-2000. 1-800-304-2000. Sam and Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right. Now, I'll tell you, the Democrats, I rarely am going to feel sorry for the Democratic Party here on the What's Right show, but let me tell you, I actually feel bad for them. Whoever is advising these people needs to be fired, probably shot. First off, Kamala Harris, she's on this book tour. I understand none of what she is saying is helping. And I've said this before here on the program. I'm convinced that they're in a real pickle. Everybody wants to talk because Kamala wrote a book, and what is she writing her book about? Most of it is, her time as vice president. That's what the book is about. So what is the one pressing topic of conversation right now that everybody wants to ask the person who was number 2 in the White House? What did Joe Biden know, and when didn't he know it? That's what people want to. Biden was he just absent mentally? Was he staring at the ceiling, just kind of blinking every once in a while with a little trail of drool going off the one side of his face? Did he authorize much of anything? Who was actually running the show? Hey, so we have all these questions. And so when you're promoting a book, here's how it works. You promote a book, and the media will ask you things about, presumably topics in the book. So, of course, stuff about the mental state of the president and his capacity to serve is going to be a number one topic, even among friendly media. Now, the pickle that Kamala is in is that had she been elected president, and hear me out on this, it's very, very important. Had she been elected president, had there been a friendly Department of Justice installed in Washington, D.C. as we speak, what would have happened? Well, very simple. We would have had no repercussions. There might be a congressional investigation, but the worst that Congress can do is go and, do a criminal referral. And again, back, it's going to go to the DOJ and it's going to die there. Every one of these people from Kamala on down are under threat right now of criminal indictment for the stuff that they did to pretend that Joe Biden had his marbles. All of them. That's it. So consequently, they have to lie even more than they normally do. And Jon Stewart interviewed Kamala. Did you see this interview? This is great. First question, like he just does it. It's a little podcast style interview. He's in his house somewhere. And, if you haven't been keeping up on Stewart, he is left of left. I mean, he is singing the Mamdani praises. So this is a friendly media source, person that was, I think, going to deliver a puff piece interview, and it just didn't go very well.
I believe he was fully competent to serve.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do.
That surprises me, actually.
No, I do. There's a distinction to be made between running for president and being president.
What's the distinction?
Well, being a candidate for president of the United States is about being in a marathon at a sprinter's pace, having tomatoes thrown at you every step you take.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah, it's more than a notion.
Get involved in public service, ladies and gentlemen.
And to be the seated president, the sitting president, while doing that, it's a lot.
Who advised her to call this thing? Because everything that Kamala says is very carefully workshopped, and they actually give her phrases to memorize. You know this, right? Nothing, but she's not allowed to come up with her own wording. Well, she does occasionally, and you know what that sounds like. So this marathon at a sprinter's pace, do you know what? Because I'm good at marketing, I think. And I'm good with words, I think. Better than most. And words are imagery, right? Good words, if you study language, are evocative immediately of a certain feeling or a certain image. And I'm immediately thinking of Joe Biden running, like factually running. And, if he were my grandfather or my father, I wouldn't want him running because I know he'd kill himself. This terrible language is just terrible across the board. Bad, bad, bad in every way, shape, and form. So I digress. That's just one thing I want to make a point. Look at the Democrats. Look at these, and I'll get into this here after the break because their entire messaging on the shutdown has been a complete and total fiasco. Number 2 person in the House sits down in a Fox News interview and goes, hey, we know there's pain. We know there's pain. And, we're sorry about that, but we got to do what we got to do to gain leverage. She literally, the House whip, minority whip, she literally comes out and says, yeah, I know we're causing pain, but we need it because we're the Democrats and we're here to do good. So, shut up, fall in line. That's been their entire messaging. This is absolutely terrible stuff. Okay, break here, bottom of the hour. What's Right Show, powered by Sam and Ash Injury Law. Sam Mirejovsky, your host, back in just a moment. Sam Mirejovsky here, host of the What's Right Show. I am the sage of Southern Nevada, Nevada's favorite recovering Californian, behind the What's Right microphone. 2 hours a day, every weekday. This is what I do because I love America. And somebody's got to do it. We've all got to pull together and fight. My goodness. Email sam@whatsrightshow.com. Forgot to get into that right at the top of the hour. Producer Robbie here scowling at me, wagging his finger. Got to get the email out. sam@whatsrightshow.com. There, I said it twice, Robbie. I hope that absolves me of some responsibility. Also, at What's Right Sam on X. Get on X. If you're not on X, it's the place to be. Support Elon Musk and free speech in the U.S. It's a separate topic, and I know our friends joining us today for the first time, KMET in Southern California. Great to have you guys with us as an affiliate partner of the What's Right Media Network. Great to have you. And, I talk about this a lot. I'm convinced Elon Musk played an enormous role in saving the 2024 election. And, whatever weird stuff happened, and after that, we cannot lose sight of the fact that buying Twitter was a turning point, was a critical turning point. When the historians write the definitive history of the Trump era, there's a moment of the comeback that has to do when Elon Musk walked into Twitter headquarters on, I think it's on Market Street in San Francisco, holding a sink. It's a pun, right? A meme kind of a thing. It's a let it sink in, right? Let the sink in. Yeah, that's what it was about. Anyway, it comes marching into HQ, Twitter HQ, and all the libs, you could tell it was like a funeral. It was like when Trump was elected in 2016, and he goes and visits the Obama White House, and Valerie Jarrett and everybody else, all the staffers are there for the visit. Trump, flew in on Trump Force One from New York. He was still living in New York at the time. Big mistake, right? Flew down into D.C., was welcomed, driven to the White House. Obama, and Michelle meet him at the portico there at the White House. All smiles. Behind the scenes, of course, Barack Obama is spying on everyone inside of Trump's campaign and is plotting in that very moment, in that very time, is plotting the takedown of Trump's presidency. Crossfire Hurricane, Operation Arctic Frost. I read, Robbie, do you know what Arctic Frost was? This is the operation to ultimately then, Arctic Frost came later. I know, I'm getting my chronologies here. I'm overlapping. Crossfire Hurricane's Obama. I think Obama's people were all over Arctic Frost. We're going to find that out. And there's an extensive amount of reporting on this that we'll get into a little bit later here in today's program. No, Arctic Frost, this is the operation to basically go after everybody in Trump's network after he left the White House in 2021. And they called it that because apparently Arctic Frost is something that can take out oranges in Florida. It's a thing. And that's what they wanted. They wanted to take out the orange man in Florida. That's why they named it that. Did you know that, by the way? Yeah. Don't let anybody tell you these people weren't vindictive, that this wasn't politically motivated, because that's what, listen to the media now. Well, media is somewhat catching up, but listen to the Democrats talk about it. And of course, anything that Trump does is retaliatory. Everything that Obama did and that Biden did or his people did was all in the name of enforcing and preserving democracy. So there we have it. Now, I'll get to that a little bit later. The communication, Kamala Harris aside, the shutdown, the Democrats have handled this thing terribly. I told you back when it broke, when this was all coming down, late September, early October, shutdown started October 1st, obviously 12:01 a.m. As the federal fiscal year ended and a new one began without a clean CR getting passed. And immediately the Democrats thought they were going to be just fine, that the media was going to carry water for them, as they usually historically have done, and that, they could just lie. They could say, it's the Republicans. Like, no, it's not. Republicans passed a clean CR, absolutely clean CR. The Democrats wanted to extract concessions from the Republicans and denied them cloture on the 60 vote threshold to end debate and to pass the CR in the Senate. That's it. And 3 Democrats, so there were, I think in the beginning, 4 Democrats shy. Literally 4 Democrats could have prevented all of this from happening. But they got together, and one thing Democrats do is they like to stick together, and they decided that they were going to inflict all of this pain in an effort to extract some concessions because they needed to produce a win leading up to the November election. So here we are. Election's here, right? It's happening. And, presumably that's once the election passes, all of this is going to be quickly put in the rearview mirror. The off-ramps they're looking for them and whatnot. But the communication, again, who's advising these people? Even their own media and alternative media figures are mocking them. Hakeem Jeffries, whenever he talks, he sounds like an absolute moron. And Charlemagne the God, who is a podcaster, a liberal guy, absolutely. He's black and left-wing, I would say, very, often very much so, supported Kamala Harris. Producer Robbie is vehemently nodding at me. Yes, he is. Yeah. So this is on Charlemagne's show. But he plays a clip, and then you can't miss his reaction. This is
these
priceless.
Republicans, they are not the party of law and order. They're the party of lawlessness and disorder. In all of the ways, including the ongoing crime scene at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Come on. People are angry. So why is Hakeem Jeffries talking like he's Chuck E. Cheese Obama? Okay? What are we doing? What are we doing? Come on, man. Come on.
You know how bad it is? You know how cringe you've gotten when your own propagandists begin mocking you? And that's where we're at. They're just getting mocked. And it's not a good look. By the way, Fetterman is all in for fixing this. He was from the beginning. He was an early yes from the beginning to open the government. Hey, you know what Fetterman said? It was right. Fetterman, of course, senator from Pennsylvania, the one who used to be very left-wing and then had a stroke and emerged from that stroke much more common sense, some observers have noted. But at any rate, Fetterman, listen to how he's talking about all this.
For a Democrat, we're not allowed to just open this up. Then our party has bigger problems than I thought we might have already. It's like, that's not controversial. Pay everybody. And you have our workers here borrowed over $350 million to pay their own bills. Like, it's a failure. And like I said, to all of the viewers, I'm apologizing that we can't even get our shit together and just open up our government.
Schumer said this gets better politically every day for Democrats. What do you say to that?
Yeah, well, ask the hungry people on Saturday. It's like, that's the thing. Americans are not leveraged. this is not some game show about who's winning or whatever. It's just like we have to be better than this and just open this up. And I do, talk to any number of Republicans who they agree that we have this conversation about extending these tax credits.
Wow. Two observations about this, right? This is Manu Raju on CNN interviewing John Fetterman, a Democrat. This is, right, what are we watching here? We're watching a Democratic media figure on a left-wing, traditionally left-wing media outlet, CNN, interviewing a left-wing Democratic politician. And nobody here seems to be on the side of Chuck Schumer or Hakeem Jeffries, right? And that, like, if you are Hakeem Jeffries, if you are Chuck Schumer, how did this not move you? How did the, 500 other interviews like this with people on their side, on the Democrat side, where the journalist and this interview is the subject getting interviewed are both Democrats, and you've seen it, right? You've heard it. I mean, over and over again, people are like, yeah, this isn't a good idea. We had that meeting at the White House. We played the clips here on the What's Right show. We had the head of United Airlines. We had the Teamsters president, for Pete's sake. My entire life, the Teamsters are an auxiliary organization tied auxiliary to the Democratic Party. Okay, it's like, no question. And all of a sudden, the Teamsters are telling Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, hey, guys, knock it off. We're done here. I mean, when you're watching what's happening now, all of this is a consequence, okay, of how this all fell apart massively. What went wrong? Simply put, these people decided to go and press ahead with their agenda against everybody else's, input. We'll get to this. There's plenty. I got more of this to cover. And by the way, John Solomon, if you're not following just the news, John Solomon, a good friend, and he is tenaciously going after all these Arctic frost developments. And just like I said yesterday, the other day, I said this about the timing of the investigation. I'm going to repeat that again today and explain it further, because you have to understand why. It's not just that the Biden administration spied on every Republican and every donor and every group, but the timing of it was deliberately orchestrated to take out Trump's reelection bid. Sam Mirejovsky here on the What's Right Media Network. Making radio great again. Sam Mirejovsky here, back behind the What's Right microphone at What's Right Sam on X. Follow me there. Make sure you get all of the show updates. Of course, a warm welcome to our friends over at KMET, new affiliate station as of today. Grateful to have you guys join us. The program live and local from Las Vegas, Nevada. But I am Nevada's favorite recovering Californian. Once one of you out there in California, in the Socialist Republic of, made the trek across the Mojave Desert in pursuit of freedom. Okay. I told you, John Solomon, friend of mine, he's a terrific reporter, Just the News. You see him, has a show also, just a phenomenal guy. And he has been tracing both Crossfire Hurricane, which is the Obama setup, the spying on the Trump campaign back in 2016, and then, of course, into 2017, and the efforts to, under the guise of Trump-Russia collusion, take out Trump's first term. And even though Trump remained in office, I have to say, the Obama people were relatively successful at this. So that was Crossfire Hurricane. Arctic frost. I'm convinced behind it, of course, Obama still, even though he was out of office at this point, and Biden was getting rolled around the White House, in a wheelchair. Arctic Frost is the investigation into the January 6th election. Well, the January 6th, the faux insurrection, okay, and the certification of the alternate electors, and it was a dragnet on the entire Republican Party. Thousands of records, hundreds of thousands of records, hundreds of organizations, donors, individual contributors to the Republican Party, to Trump causes, all investigated, politicians, senators, congressmen, Trump and everybody in his orbit, his attorneys. This is Watergate on steroids. John Solomon getting at this and saying exactly what I did just the other day. I mentioned this. I told you folks, I said they could have literally started this investigation as soon as Trump left the White House. This investigation could have commenced at January of 2021. But they waited. And why did they wait? Well, Solomon gets at this in an appearance yesterday. Watch this.
If you thought what happened on January 6th with the electors was bad, you could have done it on the 7th or the 8th or 9th of 2021. They wait a whole year until Donald Trump raises his hand and says, I'm getting back in the arena. I'm running for 2024. And they open up an electronic communication that every expert I talk to says is thin, doesn't meet the rules. Then they try to say the crime is by some people offering alternate electors to the Senate. That is a criminal conspiracy. Now, if you're going to do that, the FBI has an obligation to go back and look at how alternate electors were done in the past. They don't do that. They ignore the fact that in 1876 and in 1960, alternate electors were submitted to the Senate twice. Nobody got prosecuted. Nobody thought it was a crime back then. Oh, by the way, in both of those cases, it was Democrat candidates who were doing it. So they ignore the precedent, and they just simply open up, and then they just go fishing. I call this a MAGA dragnet. 400 and plus Republicans and their groups are targeted, 8 senators, 1 House members. They're getting millions and millions of lines of phone data, geolocation data. They're looking at anything and everything they can, trying to find a crime that they can hang on someone that is close to Donald Trump.
Now, by the way, this on Real America's Voice is where this interview was done. Love the network. Many friends over there. Solomon then, of course, says, hey, you know, Jim Jordan is furious because Jordan and others in Congress are calling this an abuse of FISA. Remember, we got FISA in large part because of Bush-era Republicans. And no doubt, a number of the senators who were spied on using FISA had signed off on the FISA legislation back in the day. That's a boomerang. It came back and it hit them in the head, in the back of the head. The Democrats used a weapon Republicans created in the wake of September 11th to get at them. And it protected the establishment. You could argue that Bush-era Republicans delighted by this, but there's still members of Congress here who voted for FISA, and now it may very well go away. Now, FBI accountability is a huge part here. If you are concerned that the investigations by Pam Bondi and Kash Patel aren't going fast enough, and I brought this up early in the hour, I'm telling you, every person I talk to that has met with the president recently says that he is obsessed. Trump is focused on saving the country and that he is driving these people. I mean, he's running them ragged. Trust me, he is calling Kash Patel at all hours of the night, seeing to it that the stuff is done. And Solomon here says, again, on Real America's Voice, that you're getting real FBI accountability coming to a theater near you.
I just got off of the phone with some senior law enforcement officials. The FBI is internally now investigating some of its own personnel for their conduct in Arctic Frost, meaning they're looking at the possibility their own agents engaged in criminality by opening up this investigation or conducting or doing things in the investigation. The entire unit that ran this has been dismantled. Every agent that played a role in this has been fired. This is unlike the FBI of the past, which would just sweep things under the rug and say, nothing to look here. there is accountability internally going on. And if the FBI refers people for prosecution, Pam Bondi will be able to do to maybe people who committed crimes here what she's now done for James Comey and John Bolton and Letitia James. And I suspect with the referral that happened earlier this week, John Brennan could be someone who's facing an indictment soon as well. So you're getting an accountability lens, which never happened in the first Trump administration.
By the way, they abused the FISA system. They abused it top to bottom. And who was the FISA court judge? Incidentally, I'm glad you asked. None other than Jeb Boasberg. Boasberg, the same judge who has been making himself a thorn in the side of the new Trump 47 administration, filing injunction, allowing injunctions to be filed, setting national injunctions, getting slapped down by the Supreme Court left and right. Judge Jeb Boasberg, the central villain in all of this. I got a quick break here, top of the hour. I'll be right back, folks. Hang tight. Another hour of the What's Right show up next. Well, the Democratic Party, they'd be a lot further along if they'd invested half the energy that they spent trying to put Trump in prison into fixing their own party. Greetings, friends. Welcome. The What's Right show is on. A special warm welcome to our friends at KMET. Welcome to the What's Right media family. We're happy to be here with you, and we will continue to be with you here at this time moving forward. So love that the show is expanding, and again, very grateful for this. Now, there's this Axelrod piece. A bunch of prominent Democrats, strategists, different people signed on to an article, more of kind of a white paper, a plan, a business plan, a political plan of action of how the Democratic Party is going to recover out of their present tailspin. Now, before I get to that fully, let me explain to you the basic premise of this pickle that they're in. It consists of, very simply put, this. There is a radical element within the Democratic Party that is vying to take over the entire DNC. This radical element is largely led by the Democratic Socialists of America. You've heard of them, right? The Squad, okay? Zohran Mamdani, all right? The people, the weirdos in Minneapolis and Minnesota, right? The Democratic Socialists of America. There are other splinter groups as well operating under a broad umbrella, but they're the far left. They're socialists, they're communists, they're redistributionists, collectivists, whatever you want to call it. I mean, they're out for your stuff. They will take your home, they will take your business, they will confiscate your money. They will do exactly what communists have done all across the world at different stages in history whenever they have been able to come to power. So it worries me. Obviously, it ought to worry you as well. Now, I played last hour a clip by John Fetterman about the shutdown. I'm not going to replay it here, but basically he said, hey, man, we have our differences with the Republicans, and obviously, I'd like things to be a little bit different here, but my common sense dictates, and I'm paraphrasing, my common sense here dictates that we need to keep the government open because we're not out to hurt people. It's not, we're just not going to do that. It was so likable. If every Democrat operated this way and spoke this way, the Democratic Party would be a force to reckon with. In fact, if the Democratic Party, starting circa around Obama, and certainly in the post-Obama era, hadn't self-radicalized itself in such a way that it began championing a bunch of fringe issues, focusing its entire effort and energy on things like women and males, men and women's sports, and importing half the third world into America, and gender mutilating little kids, and I could go on and on, right? All of these social issues, all of these terrible immigration issues, letting every criminal out of jail, calling it restorative justice. Those of you out there in California, you know what restorative justice is. You've been living that hell now for years. Do a crime, go to jail? Ha, think again. Maybe in certain counties, not in LA. So here's the thing, right? That's where the Democratic Party has gone. Now, take, for example, Chuck Schumer. I predicted, and I said this on October 1st, a month ago. I said that the first political casualty of the shutdown would be Chuck Schumer. Here we go. Just see, it's going to get even worse for Chuck. I promise you this. Why? Because Chuck Schumer and a number of other prominent Democrats who are part of the old guard, who not that long ago, let's say go back 15, 20 years, were giving speeches in Congress that you can go back and watch, where these Democrats basically sound like Donald Trump when it comes to immigration and crime. These Democrats, specifically Chuck Schumer, used to basically have the position you and I hold today as Trump supporting, Republicans. Okay? They have, I'm just saying, go back and watch it. It's there. It's all over the internet. Schumer can't get away with it from it. Now, what happened? Why has Chuck Schumer decided to collaborate essentially with this left wing, faction group within the Democratic Party? And the answer to that's maybe a little bit complex. I think, by the way, I think fundamentally a lot of Democrats don't believe in anything. A lot of people, actually, if you go to Washington, D.C. and hang out with politicians, they're focused on getting reelected. Few of them are like Donald Trump, where for years they are intellectually consistent. It doesn't matter on the party. It doesn't matter what. You go back, you listen to Trump's comments about immigration, about the Iraq war, about economic matters and tariffs. He has been consistent for decades in an admirable way. Few people, and particularly in politics, are like that. So some of this is just these people don't believe anything. The other part of it is they just are absolutely terrified about being left out in the cold. And they don't have an ounce of that Trump moxie, where Trump could have the entire world against him. He could have everybody against him, and he's going to say, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it, and you all either are with me or you're against me. And people like Chuck Schumer do not have that. It's not even moral clarity. They don't have those balls to do that, right? They don't have the gumption to get up there, because I'm telling you right now, forget the shutdown. Bigger picture. If Chuck Schumer, if Democrat leadership, who's the highest ranking Democrat right now? I mean, it's Chuck Schumer. I mean, he's a powerful guy. Senate, minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries. If they got up there and said, listen, no, we are not endorsing Mamdani. He's crazy. You all are crazy. This is not the Democratic Party that we know. This is a Democratic. We as Democrats, we stand for working Americans. We stand for hardworking people. We stand for working families. We stand for, freedom and compassion. If they moderated their message, if they toned down all the crazy, social justice BS that nobody gives a rip about, because going back to the immortal words of one famous Bill Clinton political strategist, it's the economy, stupid. That's what matters. People care more about the fact, well, food on the table, certainly, and we had 4 years of rampant inflation. But what about crime? What about the open border? The Democrats deliberately let that horse out of the barn. They did it by design. And I know, I tell you what, one thing in the background of all of this, you see Bernie Sanders hanging out with AOC, and the two of them are doing these, so I don't know, pass the torch video, the old socialist with the young socialist, and here you go, AOC. And and Zohran Mamdani in there. Oh, Bernie, me and Bernie. And I'm watching this. A lot of people going, what the hell's going on here? It's making me ill. And I'm saying, this is Bernie Sanders is a man who is in the twilight. The reality is in the twilight of his life and in his career. And he feels, and if you were Bernie, you'd feel the same way. He feels that the Democratic Party did him dirty in 2016, which they did. The Democratic National Committee screwed Bernie Sanders over. No question. So, what do we have? Well, I'll tell you. The fact of the matter is that now Bernie Sanders smells blood in the water. And the entire Democratic Party, they've done it to themselves. They are destroying themselves from within. And Bernie Sanders is coming in with this new socialist brigade, these good-looking, nice-looking young kids with new energy, and everybody, they're dangerous as all hell. And Bernie Sanders, who you and I and maybe many of us have dismissed as a sort of fringe kooky character, lefty, obviously socialist guy, who was just up there in Vermont, who was giving speeches and none of it mattered, and I guess almost became the Democratic nominee, but would not have become president. Many people believe, asterisks, you never know, could have. But the closest that Bernie Sanders ever came to being actually dangerous to, America, broadly speaking, was the 2016 primary, Democratic primary. And that ended as it did. So now this is a revenge tour. Bernie Sanders, and he now is, he could keel over in 2 years, and he will have left us with a real mess on our hands. Mamdani taking over New York, and from there, a springboard to other positions. A guy who has, 40 years left in his, he's going to live like Bernie. The guy's going to dominate politics on the left if he's not stopped. It's a big deal. And meanwhile, the Democratic Party, I guess Axelrod and some other people getting together, and they're writing a paper about how they're going to, hey, we got to moderate, but it's maybe a day late and a dollar short. And so every time somebody tells you, well, your party, you Republicans, you've just given in to Donald Trump. We got saved from ourselves by Donald Trump, because Donald Trump was the leader who had the cojones. Unlike Schumer, unlike Biden, unlike Kamala, unlike Hakeem Jeffries, unlike even Nancy Pelosi, to stand up to the cretins in our party, to the globalists, to the Bush era, compassionate conservative Republicans, bipartisan, open borders. We got rid of all those people. We dealt with it internally, and we emerged a party far more in tune with the majority of the country and focused on saving the country than the Democrats could ever get. We actually took the ground that the Democrats previously had. This is why you're seeing, press conferences at the White House, the Teamsters on our side. Go back a few years. Imagine something like that happening, 10, 15 years ago, or in the era of Bill Clinton. It's inconceivable, literally. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. I'll be right back in a moment.
The Sam and Ash team, they wanted me to have the best care. They had my interests at heart. I have an enormous amount of gratitude. I cannot say enough thank you.
Rarely wrong, always right. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone at What's Right Sam on X, and of course my email, sam@whatsrightshow.com. Minneapolis, you see this guy running for mayor there. We're talking so much about Mamdani. We're forgetting these other crazy Democrats across the country. This guy name is Omar Fateh. He looks like something a cross between an alien and one of those, Somali pirates. Yeah, he's got to get up in the movie and go, I'm the captain now. That's going to be his victory speech when he wins. He's literally at a rally in the United States of America. and he's waving the flag of the Hiran community, which is a region in Somalia. He's like some Somalian warlord. It's not even a pledge of allegiance to the country of Somalia. It's for his tribe. This is the terrible mistake that we've committed with our immigration policies, and we can thank the new Democratic Party for bringing these kind of people, these types of immigrants into our midst. It's terrible. So here's the rally. I mean, listen to this. Does this sound like America to you?
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Somalia. Somalia. Hiran State. Mawisle. Mawisle. Early voting hadda illa November 4. I need your vote. I need you. Hadan Udkina, hello. We're going to win.
He is a member of the Minnesota Democratic Farmer Labor Party. See how fractured the Democratic Party is becoming? He's a member of the Minnesota Senate. He's running to be the mayor of Minneapolis. Minneapolis. This isn't even some small town. He's on an HOA board seat that he's running for. This is literally a major city in the U.S. I don't care how he looks. I care that he's speaking a foreign language, like waving a foreign flag on American soil. If you're just tuning in here first time to the show and you're joining us on KMET in Southern California and missed my opening monologue, I'll tell you this again. My parents came to this country. They learned English even before they got here. The idea that they would wave their flag here in this country, that they would do anything other than be grateful and patriotic for the United States of America, but not even would cross our minds. I'm not anti-immigrant. I'm anti whatever the hell this is. And it's where the Democratic Party has gotten. Remember the other day, I mentioned the land acknowledgments. This is the craziest thing, right? So the Democratic Party, and by the way, the Canadians are big at this too. All the leftists do these land acknowledgments. And in Canada, the funny thing is they did the land acknowledgments so many times that the court there in British Columbia ruled, the land actually does belong to these indigenous people. They own your house. And homeowners there in a town of Richmond, British Columbia, started getting letters saying, hey, you don't own your home. It actually, now the title's disputed. Mortgage companies showed up. They're like, yeah, we're pulling your mortgage. You're done. We're not. No. It's fully payable now. You owe the balance tomorrow. And all these people are like, what do you mean? What do you mean? I just was trying to be nice. I was trying to be reconciliatory with the indigenous people, the First Nations, whatever the hell they call them out there. Imagine you're driving to work, right? Driving to work and you're paying your mortgage, you're paying your bills, you're paying your property taxes. You've scripted and saved to even be able to afford a house because, hell, that's not easy. And all of a sudden, somebody comes along and says, yeah, you know what? It's these Indians over here that own your house because, you know what? Some guys kept rolling around saying, oh, we're on stolen land. And by the way, this is it too. It's this overplayed and, unthinking is really what it is on the Democrat side. They don't even think about it. This compassion. Oh, we've got to be compassionate. We've got to be mindful. We can't have Islamophobia. We can't be bigoted. We can't be, we've got to be, our hearts and minds have to be so open that we then tolerate a literal invasion of our own country. And when we say that out loud, what do we get called? All sorts of nasty names, right? I'm no doubt, either have said things like I'm saying, have thought things like I'm saying, and if you do say them out loud to the wrong person, you know what happens. Well, I just don't give a rip. That's my problem. I don't. Because it's time for us to stand up to it. You think this is again, this big major city. And this was deliberately under Biden. They shuffled as many people as they could and started years before, by the way. And it was a big push by the current form of the Democratic Party to overrun our country with as many of these people. And remember, Trump during the election got up and said, yeah, these Haitians, I don't know what the hell they're doing. Got a lot of blowback for that. And then people started coming out and said, yeah, they do. They literally catch the birds and stuff right out of the pond. Like saw a guy, walking down with holding 2 ducks by the neck, got both of them. And because they're primitive people. They come from primitive places and we haven't vetted them. Many of these people are bad people. And Biden was just pumping them into the country by the millions, just one after another. And incidentally, not one adult in the room stood up on the Democratic side to say, no, enough is enough. Not anybody of any significance or any amount of power. Meanwhile, Republicans were falling over themselves to stop Trump, never Trump. Whatever we do, can't have Trump. The whole never Trump movement. And those people are people now in cahoots with the Democrats, allowing all this crazy stuff to happen. Yeah, it's suicidal empathy is what they call it. Suicidal empathy. Gad sad. A man who knows what's up. Sam Mirejovsky here. The What's Right show brought to you by Sam and Ash Injury Law. We'll be right back. Hi, welcome back. Sam Mirejovsky here, host of the What's Right show. This hour of the program brought to you by Sam and Ash Injury Law, a different kind of law firm, not the kind of firm to give you the ick, which I think some of these guys, billboard guys, probably do as you drive around wherever you might be, looking at no, I'd never talk to that. I would never bring that person home to meet my family, talk to my kids. Ugh. So anyway, Sam and Ash. Sam and Ash. Real easy. 1-800-304-2000. 1-800-304-2000. Offices in Nevada and California. Those of you joining us for the first time today on KMET, welcome. We're great to have you. Great to have you with us here on the program, and I'll be talking more about Sam and Ash periodically. And if you've got questions, by the way, if you have injury questions, I am the Sam of Sam and Ash Injury Law, so you can email me directly, sam@whatsrightshow.com. Political questions, law questions, always happy to get it, and I'll respond to you on air if there's something that comes up that's thematic that I can speak to. So, well, I know you saw the terror attack. This FBI thwarted a potential terror attack, and this was going to happen in Michigan, and it's ahead of the right before the Halloween weekend. They foiled a plot. They're describing it as an international terrorism incident. And again, I look at this. Number one, I'm pleased that the FBI is, in spite of everything that is going on internally in the organization, getting through and figuring out, who was a political, obstructor at the FBI, removing them, cleaning this up, holding people accountable for what they did in Crossfire Hurricane and Operation Arctic Frost. And then at the same time, having to perform the critical mission of keeping America safe. So I'm pleased that that's going on. And the other part of this is I'm just absolutely terrified how many bad people are in the country currently. I don't know about you. Don't you just, think of the raw numbers of people that were let into the country beginning in 2021 until Trump secured the border in 2025. It's just this 4 years of movement. And we know that in the limited data that was made available by the Biden administration and the Department of Homeland Security, that there were a number of contacts made with and detentions of people that were on terror lists. So they were apprehending a handful of terrorists at the border, and common sense would dictate that those apprehensions are just a small fraction of the total number of people that went into the country. On top of that, we know that Venezuela was training gang members, recruiting gang members, training them, the military in Venezuela, teaching these people military tactics, arming them, and then sending them across the southern border into the U.S. to wreak havoc and to operate a drug trade that was then sending money back to Venezuela. You want to wonder why Trump has his sights set on Venezuela, it's that reason. Plus, also blocking China from the region. So there's stuff happening, is my point. The other thing, I know this is maybe not the most important thing, but Tuesday, Marjorie Taylor Greene is going on The View. Did you hear about this, Robbie? MJT going on The View. Well, what do you make of that? I'm curious, Robbie. I'm talking to producer Robbie here. Wait, what do you make of it? Because, okay, I think that to me, it's pretty obvious. The View would never have on a persuasive, Trump-allied conservative on the show. And they are having Marjorie Taylor Greene, now that she has split from Trump, and she's become sort of, Israel obsessed, if you will, anti-Israel obsessed. She's gone off that kind of deep end. Plus, I don't know if she's the best we've got, right? I mean, let's be honest. Is she the best we have in Congress? She's the most eloquent, person to explain what America First is. I do not like her. I disagree with her on some things, but she's a lovely person. If you get to meet her, she's very nice. I just don't think it's an accident that the ladies on The View are having her on now that she's had some somewhat public schism with Trump. And it is a schism. And people there, a lot of people right now in D.C., a lot of Republicans really do not like her. Where before they thought she was kind of kooky, but she was loyal. And something that we need right now. I mean, Trump, look, here's my philosophy on it, folks, and some of you are just maybe hearing me for the first time. I think Trump is the man of the hour. I think he is what America needs. I think that, honestly, the country, I don't even know where we would be if there wasn't a Trump. Gosh forbid that Butler, Pennsylvania, that day in July ended differently than it did. I can't even imagine the trajectory that we would be on as a country today. And so I look at this, there's a need on our side to be unified. I struggled with it. I'll give you a great example of this. Those of you who listen to me on a regular basis, attentively hanging on every word, or remember that I struggled a little bit with the One Big Beautiful Bill. I had two people who I respected in different ways, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, saying very different things. Actually, they went to war over the bill and they stopped talking. They started slinging insults, and Musk went, bananas. Basically, the ketamine went to his head. Whatever it was, it got ugly. You remember this well. And I did some deep diving into it, and I thought, in the beginning, I said, we got to have a deficit problem. Yeah, we have a deficit problem. And then I realized that who cares about the deficit if we don't have a country? We won't have a country if we don't secure the border. We won't have a country if we don't begin actually en masse deporting bad people that are in this country illegally. We won't have a country if we don't fix the FBI, if we don't fix elections. There's all this stuff that needed to be done. And it's almost like we had to run into the negative again to see to it that this stuff would be on track. And by the way, look at how it's been over the last 30 days with the shutdown. Trump's agenda is funded thanks to the OBB. And the Democrats want a do-over on the OBB and have closed the government for a month in an effort to extort Republicans to go back on it. And the reason we are in such good shape is because Republicans, for the most part, didn't listen to Elon Musk and went with Donald Trump. There is some virtue here now in supporting Trump and giving him an opportunity now that he has seen just how ugly the politics of our country can be, having experienced it firsthand as the target of a deep state effort to take him out. We'll give him an opportunity to fix this. So my ideology on this, my belief very strongly is, and as a lawyer, and I look at this, I care about the Constitution, and I care about, there will not be a Constitution left if the radical Democrats that you see right now taking over the Democratic Party come to power. They will stack the Supreme Court, and suddenly property rights, the takings clause isn't going to mean what it currently means. The First Amendment isn't going to mean what it currently means. The Second Amendment isn't going to mean what it currently means. The Fourth and Fifth Amendments won't mean anything like what they mean today. And you're going to see what an actual dictatorship looks like. Because all it takes is a few lunatics like Ketanji Brown Jackson, who are both stupid and completely ideological, to just rewrite the law. It'll happen. It absolutely will. And we are at a point right now where we need to absolutely ensure that it doesn't. So, long and the short of it, right? Trump's got his agenda. It's moving forward. I'm not one to get away. So Marjorie Taylor Greene going on The View. I hope it goes well. Of course, we'll play all the we'll play the highlight reel when we've got it and whatnot. By the way, last night also met somebody, Robbie. Well, I'll share that when we come back. Yes. Another female Republican member of Congress. I'll let you guess who. Sam Mirejovsky here, the What's Right show, brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right. Yes, Robbie guessed it right away. Met Nancy Mace last night. Very, very pleasant lady. And by the way, a very good speaker. I was impressed when people can speak extemporaneously without any notes, without any teleprompters, anything. They're just able to give remarks, off the cuff and have it kind of make heads or tails. She loves wine. That's what I can tell you. She loves Pinot wine. So that's a fun fact about Nancy Mace. Also, she's got the crazy eye. There's no question. I can't talk. I'm going to leave that alone. But I'm just going to say that I'm happily married. I'm just saying there was a friend that thinks she's very good looking. I have a friend who thinks she's all that in a bag of chips. And was telling me, and he was very happy that I had met Nancy Mace. He goes, well, Sam, how was it? Oh my gosh, she's so good. I go, bro, that is the kind of lady that you stay away from. I'm just telling you. That's trouble. She's going to burn your house down, right? That's that kind of girl. She's very fun, I'm sure. Nice person. Very savvy politician. Let me tell you that. And I agree with her on a lot of things. So happy to have her on my side. I'm just saying. Trouble. That's just my opinion, and maybe unfair. Okay. Where do we, Robbie? I have so much to still cover. Holy hell. Speaking of the Democratic Party, it was a moment on C-SPAN. They've got the callers that still call in, and so you hear the caller on the line, but you're watching the host. This guy calls in to a show about the government shutdown and says what I think a lot of Democratic voters are thinking. And it is a backup that a lot of the stuff that is going on in the Democratic Party today is alienating their core voters. Listen to this guy. Tell me this isn't happening at scale.
We go to Oklahoma, where Lawrence is on our line for Democrats. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. I've been a Democrat all my life. I'm 78, and my folks were too. But this party has changed so damn much. It makes me sick. I'm going to move out of it. It's terrible, Just like Schumer, he needs to be in a home. Take Pelosi with him.
Lawrence, who was the last Democrat you voted for?
Pardon me?
Who was the last Democrat you voted for?
Last election. But like I said, I'm changing.
You voted for Kamala Harris?
Yeah, this is ridiculous,
Why did you
going around,
Why did you think Kamala Harris should win that election?
As a Democrat. I just a solid Democrat, like I told you my folks were too, and I'm just fed up. I'm moving, I don't know, independent or something's got to happen.
I think there's a lot of people like this. They just feel completely left out in the cold. And then, right, I was asking earlier who the top Democrat is. And if you're going beyond beyond Washington, okay, I would say one of the top most visible, loudest Democrats currently, unfortunately, is the governor of California. Now, I don't understand how Gavin Newsom has any kind of following. And let me drive this point home. I was having a conversation recently with somebody about this, and it was a lady, a female, who's a Republican and a political strategist type person who was connected and dialed in and very astute observer of the political scene. And she told me that Gavin Newsom is a good-looking guy. And Robbie, I almost choked on the little hors d'oeuvre that I was consuming at the very moment. Now, I understand, look, I'm a straight guy. I have a tough time telling you, that dude's a good-looking dude. But I get it. Okay, he's got nice hair. He's got nice teeth. He's not deformed, right? He doesn't have a third arm growing out of his forehead. But, it's like a barely concealed cloven hoof, if you catch my drift. I mean, the guy gives off legitimately, I'm talking about Newsom here, gives off legitimately like icky sociopath, I've got a billboard lawyer vibes. Like Newsom could be a billboard lawyer. It was the same thing as, remember? John Kerry's running mate, right? Edwards, thank you. John Edwards, he was a trial lawyer. Okay, I don't know if he probably had a billboard somewhere. Slick guy, good-looking guy, but he had something off about him. And there was something off about him before we even knew about Rael Hunter and the love child and all this stuff, right? But Newsom, this woman's like, man, he's a good-looking guy. He's like very pleasant, nice to talk to. And I go, well, what about the stuff with the hands? I mean, I have my own, I'm on the radio and I got the Sam Cam here so you can get the podcast. What's Right Show podcast, obviously available. And so there's video and I know, like I'm here for 2 hours and I do some weird stuff with my hands too, but I'm not running to be president. I'm also he's like, I don't know. He's like Mr. Miyagi, meeting somebody who's going through a stroke. Weird. Yeah, he looks. Yeah, it's right, especially modern Disney. But Robbie here's whispering in my ear. Is he like a Disney villain? Yeah, because of course the Disney villain's always a white guy. So that tracks. You're not wrong. But my point is, like, how is this? And then that's the stuff that, that's the stuff that's not substantive, right? That's just the look. To me, he's very off-putting. Gavin Newsom does look as putting off, sociopathic vibes. No question. But then, I mean, you got the New York Times. Did you see the New York Times piece? We didn't even have time to cover this when it came out on the 30th. Paul Pringle wrote a piece for the New York Times, and this is that the very early little Palisades, before the Palisades fire turned into an inferno, there was a small smoldering burn site, and the firefighters were given stand-down orders not to extinguish it. Right? They were said don't extinguish. So that what happened is then it reignited on January 7th and went on just destroy thousands of homes, killed 12 people. I mean, it's not a small thing. This is from the LA Times. To the firefighters' surprise, their battalion chief ordered them to roll up their hoses and pull out of the area on January 2nd, the day after the 8-acre blaze was declared contained, rather than stay and make sure there's no hidden embers. That's proper procedure. And then the winds kicked up, and the rest is history. Now, who put in this order? This comes straight from the LA Fire Department's chain of command. Remember, they had, what was it, two lesbians or whatever, and a trans police chief, fire chief, whatever it was. I mean, it's a horrible DEI lineup. But the incompetence goes all the way to Gavin Newsom. They let a fire burn in an area where there wasn't any water. I mean, 12 people dying in something like this and thousands of homes getting destroyed would disqualify any normal person. So back to this is who the Democrats have as a front runner. Look at the polling. It's Gavin Newsom, then AOC, and then everybody else. In terms of percentages, if you were voting today as a Democrat, right, every time there's a poll. And people are making fun of us that we have JD Vance? What are you like? What are you smoking? We have it so good, is my point. So this is where we need to begin to be optimistic. All right. We as Republicans need to be optimistic. Things are going to work out. We've got a good lineup. We have Marco Rubio. We have J.D. Vance. And best of all, we've got Donald J. Trump. And the Democrats, my God, they've got a bunch of raving lunatic socialists and a handful of fossilized dinosaurs who can't even stand up to the insanity in their own party. That's not going to work out well for them. But it is on us that we see to it that they never get control of the country. Sam Mirejovsky, the What's Right Media Network, Sam at what'srightshow.com, at What's Right Sam on X, formerly known as Twitter. And I'll see you next time, folks. Hang tight. Have a good one.